Obviously, losing your job is stressful, and then how you manage that stress really can be very difficult. Obviously, a lot of people during COVID-19, lots of career force locations are closed. And so when you think about creative job search, we also have to think about how creative the employers need to be right now as well. We need to be creative to show them we are the best candidate for that position. So that's all this is leading up to, is how you can make yourself shine and be the number one candidate. But employers on the other side also have to be creative, and they are awfully busy trying to make sure that if there's a mask mandate, they have masks available. Do they have enough hand sanitizer? They have an awful lot on their minds right now as well. So that's why we need to make it as easy for them to see that we're the best candidates. So whether you're going to try and stay in the same industry or do something more, we need to just figure this out, go into it with a positive attitude that, you know what, I'm going to come out of this on the other end just fine, okay? But just give yourself the credit that it is difficult. And a lot of people find themselves on this emotional roller coaster, if you will. Finally the news sinks in, you know what, I lost my job. I lost my job 9 years ago. It's the only time I've ever claimed unemployment. It was for about 2 weeks until I got my job here. But those 2 weeks were pretty awful for me. I had no idea what to do. But the news finally sunk in that I'm not going to go back to that old job. There was some anger. I had only been there for a month, and they shut the office down. So that was a real blow to me. But there's all these different areas on the emotional roller coaster where you get some really great leads through LinkedIn or through networking, and that's wonderful. And you get an interview, and then you get the reject letter. So you kind of go up and down, and just give yourself credit. This is all perfectly natural. Everyone's going through this whole thing. Finally, at the end, you find a good opening, and you nail that job. You nail that interview, and you get the job. So maybe put it in the chat box if you want to, where you are on the emotional roller coaster, and just kind of a gauge as to see where you are on that. And again, keeping a positive attitude is going to make a huge difference in how you go into things. So remember, a positive attitude attracts positivity, and of course, negative attitudes attract negativity. So keep yourself on the upswing, feeling discouraged, trying to stay hopeful. Good for you. Finding good people to talk to that will help bring you back to that good attitude. More possibilities, ups and downs. Yeah, there will be lots of ups and downs. So my situation was that when I got laid off, I knew somebody that worked here, and she was one of the managers, and I walked in, and because we are basically the best kept secret in the state, nobody really knows about us until they need our services. I had never needed them when I lived in Duluth, but I knew somebody that worked here, and I said, "What do you do here?" So to help people find jobs. And, oh, great! I needed a job, and they needed a counselor, so I landed that job. So not always that easy for everybody, but it was for me. And I just, walking through the right threshold at the right time is a big deal. Feeling encouraged after a meeting. Oh, with the workforce counselor yesterday. Yay! Yeah, keep reaching out to us. So again, like I say, recognize those feelings. Give yourself credit for being angry, for being mad at COVID. I mean, if that's what happened. Giving yourself the credit for how you're feeling. If you've got your crappy pants on and you just don't feel like going in and networking, don't do it, because you're not going to be your best self. You want to present yourself in the best manner that you can. I really encourage you to try and do that. So to maintain some structure and some routines is great. Find a safe outlet, whether that's a job club or maybe that's meeting with family or friends that are good for your network, good for you to move on, and then forgive, move on. And maybe one way to do this, if you're still a little bit ticked off at the situation, write it down, journal it, write a letter to your former boss, write a letter to COVID-19, whatever it is, that made this, got you into the situation. And of course, you would never send it, you would never do anything with it, but burn it, chew it up, spit it out, I don't care, but getting it off of your chest, because if you don't, and you walk into an interview and you're still a little bit on edge about what happened last time, you don't know how to explain why you're not working, it'll be a lot easier if you get it off your chest. And then that's the only way that you can move on. You know, and then just accept the change. You know, it may be a change in the same industry, different employer. It may be a change in total occupation change. It may be going back to that former employer, but just whatever you can do to help yourself get through that recovery, because you know, they say this is one of the top 3 things that affect a person. You know, it's right up there with divorce, loss of a loved one, those sorts of things. So your attitude is something that you can control. You can have a choice in your attitude, because you make that choice every single day. So you can choose to feel obviously stronger, more energized, and positive. And when I used to be able to customize this workshop, I used to have what's his name, Stuart Smalley, picture on here. If anybody remembers Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live, you are good enough. No, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and people like me. Something like that. But those positive affirmations are huge, and they might get you through a really tough time. So positive self-talk, positive affirmations. Put them on sticky notes all over your house. You know, you're a good person. Good things are going to happen to you. Things like that. Talking to others. So when I was unemployed for those few weeks, I talked to my pastor about it, because, like I said, it really hit me pretty hard. And so then when I would have one of those down days on my roller coaster, I would just think back, what would she say right about now? She always had great, kind words and inspirational good things to say. So talking with others that can help you get through it. Maybe there's support groups or job clubs in your area. Again, check the events calendar on careerforcemn.com and see if there's something in your area. That's also where you might find other job clubs, if you have job clubs, job fairs, if you will, or hiring events, things like that on careerforcemn.com. So look for a job club. It might be virtual, but you can handle that. If you're on this call, it's going to be similar. Exercising helps. I never chose that. I chose to eat donuts to get me through it. But they say exercise helps. Just to make you feel better. Getting out and taking a hike and walking on a nice sunny day. Taking the dog for a walk. Things like that. Just get outside. Even though you're supposed to be job searching a lot, you can still take the time to go for a walk. If it hits you really hard and you need some counseling, be sure to reach out for that. There are professionals that you can talk to, and even counseling with the job counselor. I met a gal the other day who came into the office, and she was just so distraught over the job that she's in. Exercise and donuts together. I love that. Good plan. Anyway, she was so distraught over the job that she's in. She's like, I have to get out of this. I have to do something else. Can I come and talk to you? I said, sure, come on in. Come in about a half hour. That'll be good timing. So she was here in a half an hour. And in that time, I found 3 really great job postings for her. And she came in and she left so excited to see that there's opportunities out there that fit her, what she's looking for. Because I got a little sense of what she maybe was capable of doing in that short conversation. So we can help you as job counselors as well. Again, positive self-talk and those affirmations. Again, you're a good person. Good things will happen to you. I'm capable of meeting this challenge. And just to remember that this is not your fault. COVID-19 is not your fault. Employers have to make business decisions to stay afloat, and sometimes that affects us. So just remember that you're a good person and good things will happen to you. You can volunteer during the time that you are job searching. Obviously not 40 hours a week because you also have to be job searching for your unemployment requirements. But you never know who you're going to be filling those kid backpacks, who you're going to be standing next to. Maybe it's the HR director for the local hospital, and that's exactly the industry you want to get into or back into or stay in. But you can't be afraid to talk about what's going on in your world and the fact that you're looking for work. We have to be able to be open about it and tell people, I lost my job and I need some help, and can you help me out? So not to not be afraid to talk about it. Some people feel ashamed that they're not working. No, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Always be positive and keep moving forward, right? So in order to move forward, there are some websites that you can go to, and remember, you're going to get this PowerPoint tomorrow, so you'll be able to just click on the links and go into these sites. But they're really great to help you do your researching and your planning and your in your soul searching on what do I want to do next. These are really great websites. So of course, careerforcemn.com, that's us, that's the state of Minnesota, and the state workforce system, if you will. So all of our partner agencies that are in different locations, all are, you can reach all of them through careerforcemn.com. And it's got really great information. You can go on and you can do a career search plan. You can do interest assessments, skills assessments. You can watch some of the great workshops that we put on in the past, all on careerforcemn.com. My Skills, My Future is great to try and figure out, so going from dental assistant, maybe what could I do next? What are the skills that I can bring from dental assisting into something else? Maybe because I sterilized the dental instruments back in the dental office, maybe in the hospital I could go in and sterilize instruments for in the surgical area. Just trying to figure out what can I take from this job to my next job is really good information. Career-wise, minstate.edu is Minnesota career information. The DEED website has some really great data tools, if you will, to find out what jobs are on the upswing, if you will, and then maybe you can compare what do I need in order to fill in the skills gaps to go from dental assistant to sterilization tech or whatever it is you're thinking of. It'll help you see if you can fill in those gaps. If you need some training, that's when you reach out to one of those job counselors, dislocated worker counselor, or your vocational rehab counselor, or state services for the blind, or whoever it might be that can help you fill in those skills gaps with some training. And then you know what? You make the move or you don't. It's totally up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. And not everyone can stay in the career they were in previously. It may not be available any longer. There may not be more openings in it, but you need to do kind of your research to figure that out. Because I don't think you want to come back in a year or two and watch these same workshops again, be in the same situation. So you want to get into something that's on the upswing, and there are openings coming up in the future. So we're going to look at the I think this is an old slide. I don't think this is exactly on the front page any longer, but you can go into careerforcemn.com. I have to write down, change this slide. Careerforcemn.com and find local training programs in your area. I think just in the search bar, type in training, or it might be on the career seeker tab. But there are trainings being posted in your area. Again, some might be in person at a local college, technical school. Some may be online or a combination of both. So be sure that it's available in your area and that you qualify for the program. So keep that in mind, because sometimes folks do need a little bit of training, even if it's a certification that you need. This is the main screen for the online tools on careerforcemn.com. So there you can see, just click on Take an employment readiness assessment. You can look at comparing your skills, like I say, from dental assistant to sterilization tech, comparing those skills, interest assessment, skills assessment, because you want to get into the right opportunity, right? And you want a job that fits you. So if you take the interest assessment, you might find out if you're, whatever this is, whatever they call this, the different personalities, if you will. So realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, or conventional. You want to make sure you get the right job for your personality so that you will be happy staying in that position. You can also look on careerforceMN.com for the workshops that we offer, obviously. Another site is My Skills, My Future. Again, enter the current or past job, and it will come up with other things other career matches for you, if you will. Because if you were a dental assistant and you don't know what you want to do next, you can get some really good ideas, and maybe even ideas of things you never even thought of before, which is really great. It will maybe open up your eyes to other opportunities. Just opening up another ring of ideas for you, if you will. The Job Skills Transfer Assessment Tool, and because we're the government, we like acronyms, so it's JobStat. And it's just looking at, so the screenshot that I took was looking at business and financial operations, occupations, and then the list of all those areas underneath that, if you will. So it's a great, big, long list, and this is where you can go in and do some really great research on, what does it mean to be an assessor or an auditor or one of those other things, if that's what you might be thinking of. And find out if it's the right job for you. If it's a sit down at your desk job and never see people, and you know that you're a social person, it may not be the right fit. So be sure that you do your research. And I think we'll say research about 50 times during this presentation. It is pretty critical. One other place to get really great information. So that's part of your research. You're soul searching. What do I want to do going forward? And so we're just going to talk about just getting ready for the job hunt. Now that you have an idea of what you're looking for, or at least a few ideas you're looking for, we just want to talk about how are we going to prepare for this with some job searching tools, if you will. So first of all, getting organized. Managing your schedule so that you do have a balance of the job search activities and your personal life, because you are still mom, a dad, a grandma, a grandpa, brother, sister, all those things. You still need to be your own personal self. So balancing your schedule so that you do get in a good job search. We're going to talk about setting some SMART goals. Sam's going to help us out with that on the next screen. But yeah, so just balancing it with your volunteer work and your family life and your job search activities, all of those things. Writing your resume is a job search activity. Looking on MinnesotaWorks.net, the state job bank, that's a job search activity. And that's open 24/7. So you can do that after supper when the kids go to bed or whatever. But really important to keep good records too, so that if an employer, say you sent out 20 resumes, fill out 20 applications, and Joe Smith from the local hospital calls you to set up an interview, you want to be sure that you can quickly go to that job posting, to that resume, to make notes about Joe Smith, what he wants to talk about, when you want to meet, so that you know you have that information really at your fingertips. So whatever system works for you, so whether it's a spreadsheet or a recipe card box, on those index cards, or a spreadsheet, or just lots and lots of paper, but you want to keep a copy of the exact resume you sent out, the job posting that you applied for, and then have another page attached for the conversations you have with that employer, so that when Joe Smith says that he wants to interview you next week, you know exactly what time, what you talked about, how to be prepared for that, so that you can go back and read that job posting right before you walk in for the interview, so that you are mentally prepared and fully on board with that one job that you're thinking about at the moment. And maybe even just keeping a record of all of your contacts. Who have you talked to until you get that opportunity to apply for jobs at that company. But be sure that you keep really good records of what's going on in your world, so it's easy to have at your fingertips. Keeping a record of your work history. I know people come in here to fill out a resume and they're like, I don't know what year I worked at this place. I don't know who my supervisor was. I don't know, some of the details that you might need on an application. So get all that stuff together and keep it together so that you can quickly and easily fill that out on an application, or copy and paste that information into that relevant information into your resume for that particular job. And if you've been job searching for a while, you know that you need usernames and passwords for just about every company's website that you go on when you do online applications. So be sure that you have all that handy so that you're not constantly having to reset your password and all of those things. There's nothing more frustrating than that. But yeah, have everything at your workstation. If you can, have a cell phone charger handy so that when an employer does call you, you can plug your phone in if it's nearly dead so you don't lose the call. You can have your pencils, paper, all those things right at the ready when someone might call you. I think that's about it. And one thing, keeping part of getting organized, and people may be wanting to call you, employers want to call you, make sure that your mailbox is not full on your cell phone. I've been calling people this week multiple times, and their mailbox is full. So then I have to email them and then wait for them to call. Make sure that that's empty. Make sure that your voicemail message is appropriate and professional, and also make sure that your email is professional, so that employers don't they can relate to who's sending the email. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Sam to talk about SMART goals. Let me switch the screen here. There you go, Sam.
Well, thank you so much, Rhonda. And that is so crucial, is making sure you are organizing the job search. And that brings us to goal making. I love making goals. I'm not sure if you all do, but in fact, my first goal when I write a goal is to write a list. And the first on that list is to create a list, so I can cross it off. The little things matter, but where do I put this list? And that's a question I'm going to throw in the chat. Where do you put the list when you create goals? Grocery lists, whether that's going to be a grocery list or a honey-do list, where's a good place to put this list so it's accessible? So go to the chat and go ahead and answer that question. And we'll talk about your responses afterwards. Many of us who enter the job search have one goal in mind: to get the job. Although this is the desired outcome, it lacks the appropriate steps or milestones to get to that point. Throughout the Create a Job Search series, you will learn many different strategies that will help you achieve your goal. Goals that aren't SMART are more like wishes and resolutions. They feel good to make, but they're difficult to implement and achieve. Setting detailed goals helps you balance your job search, stay on track, hold yourself accountable. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable, relevant, and timely or time-bound. So let's revisit that goal mentioned above. Get a job. Is it SMART? I think it's achievable. You can go to the local employer with a help wanted sign and request employment, but even then, you may encounter some unforeseen steps to get the job. You first have to submit a resume, complete an application, prepare for the interview. Do you have shared connections? There's so many different things that come up. Since most of your employment opportunities comes from networking, I think it's like 80%, 75 to 80%. I would switch my goal to, here's my goal. I will establish my network daily by researching one new company and connection and connecting with that executive from that company, or an HR manager, supervisor, maybe CEO, if you are able to schedule an informational, which could be a virtual or in-person interview, until you find an employer you want to work for. Instead of just going out there and getting a job, find that career. Is that job specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Absolutely. achievable? No doubt in my mind it is. Indeed, it is relevant and timely, definitely. When you use that SMART goal framework, you rid yourself of confusion to gain clarity. Setting a SMART goal will help you understand exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it to achieve that desired outcome. SMART goals meet all 5 of these criteria, and the result are strategic, focused, and actionable. So without SMART goals, you know, you may as well pick up that magic 8 ball and give it a whirl and hope for the best. So to answer that question and looking in the chat, where is the best spot for you to see your goals? And a lot of great responses. The answer is where you have the highest foot traffic. And that could be your fridge. But looking at me, I like to look on the inside of my fridge versus the outside of the fridge. It could be at your desk, your car, on your laptop, in a notebook. My favorite is a sticky note on the bathroom mirror, because when I read it, when I wash my hands, I brush my teeth, I'm in the bathroom quite frequently. I have that goal, and I'm holding myself. My reflection is holding myself accountable. So you can see yourself and say, you know what, I really need to get this goal down. If you do have a techie side to you, and I've seen a few of them about that on your phone, you can set up phone alerts or download apps to help you remind yourself to stay on goals. Rhonda, I think that covers it. If there's any questions, please send it. Goals are very important. So, Ron, I'm going to send it back to you.
I love that your first goal is to make a list so that you can cross it off. Right? I'm getting up out of bed, taking a shower, getting dressed, ching, 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 done. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. So we talk about researching. So you still are thinking about what am I going to do. So you really want to research the companies and the industries that you may want to get into. What are their products? What are their services? Do I believe in what they're doing? Is this something I can go do? I personally could never go, even if it's the best job, I couldn't go work for say a gun manufacturer. Couldn't do it. It doesn't fit for me. So make sure that it's a company that you can stand behind, because you're going to represent them while you're working there. Their company size, their history, their location. So when I used to live in the Twin Cities, I lived out in the western suburbs, and I worked in St. Paul. Now that was a pretty brutal drive every day. So then when I got my job, I lived in the western suburbs. So I got a job in the western suburbs. It was great. The kids could be in daycare, close to home. It was an easy drive. So think about how far do I want to drive, and how am I going to get there? If I don't have my own wheels, how am I going to get there? Maybe you need a job on the bus line or something like that. Company size. I used to work for a mega company in the Twin Cities, just huge. And when I moved to Duluth, I worked for a small family-owned travel agency. Loved it. One of my first experiences with that employer, I think I started in February. I had 2 little kids, and a blizzard started. And he said, go home now, get your kids out of daycare and go home and be safe. So his priority, I was his priority. Maybe at that mega company it would not have been their priority to send me home to make sure that we're all safe. So thinking about that thing, who am I going to be working for? Obviously the company's financial situation, their potential growth, and you can sometimes gauge the financial situation from the news, your local news, information, newspaper, TV. And then potential growth you can find on some of those websites we showed you. Are they a company that's growing, or a company that's kind of leveling off, or maybe not growing? So be sure that you keep an eye on that. Mission statement or philosophy. For the mega company in the Twin Cities I worked for, their philosophy was work 40 hours during the week to stay on par with the competition, and work all weekend to get ahead. Well, when I found myself on a Saturday with my little baby in the stroller, putting together new hire packets for Monday, that's kind of when I realized maybe that wasn't the right fit for me, because I should have been home. And just thinking recent changes or their initiatives, things like that. If they're switching products that they're making, if they bought a new office, they're expanding. great information out there. Again, through the news, through networking, through going in and talking to those employers, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Maybe their human resource policies have changed. Maybe they are allowing you to work from home 2 or 3 days a week, which is great because if you've got a long drive from the western suburbs to St. Paul, you are going to save an awful lot of time and money not driving every day. So looking at those things, maybe in the summer you can work 4 10-hour days and have Fridays off. So what is their initiative? What's going on in the human resources world? Again, that labor market information, are they growing, are they not growing? And then, of course, because this isn't a hobby, we want to be sure that the salary and benefits work for us, work for you. And to find out that information, you can find out some of that information through the Glassdoor, I think is the website that you can get some of that information. But they keep that pretty close to their company information, and you can find that out sometimes through networking, like I say, or maybe by an informational interview, which is part of the where should I research? Going in and talking to an employer and saying, I'm thinking of getting into this industry. What do I need to do? What do I need to know? Who is your perfect applicant? Can I get a sense of the benefit package? Just having those conversations. We call it an informational interview or conversation, just to get an idea of what it would be like, what a typical day would be like in that company. You can research on their company websites to find out, read their press releases, read their news page, see if you can find out who are the people that you know that work there. That's part of your LinkedIn research. Who works there? Who can I talk to about what is their culture like at that shop? What are they? Is it a good place to work? Or is everybody miserable? Whatever. Some of those career information websites we showed you a little while ago. And again, you'll get this PowerPoint, so you'll have all that information. And just researching with your network, finding people that work at companies. Maybe if there were 2 or 3 of you laid off from a company, maybe stick together and help each other out to find jobs, only if those other people are having a positive attitude towards things. If they're all negative and angry, maybe they're not the best people for you to hang with, but they can be very valuable in your network, friends, and family. And then, of course, career force. You want to reach out to us and stay with us. Like I say, we get information from employers all the time. I'm sure Sam and his crew and over in their area, they do as well. And so we have sometimes information on jobs that haven't even been posted yet, because employers come in and they say, I'm going to need 3 civil engineers coming, by the end of the month. Well, we might be working with somebody that is a civil engineer. So, if we're working with you and we can help you out, just stay in touch with us at your local office. Get in on the one-to-one appointments and stay in touch. And then when I do a one-to-one, I obviously find out an awful lot about a person and what they're looking for, that I continue to do job search for them and email out opportunities to everyone that I meet. So you've done your research, and now you're getting ready to go out into the world. Speaking of networking, if you want, if you think this is something that would be helpful, something like this, we call it a networking card. It's just a business card for you personally, with your contact information on it. You don't have to put your address on it, but at least put your city and state so they kind of know that you're grounded in the area. With phone numbers being so portable, if you only had your Bozeman, Montana phone number on there and no email, they may not know, obviously wouldn't know where you really live. So at least put your city, state, that appropriate professional email address you want on there, and your LinkedIn information. If you have a LinkedIn account, would be great, so they can go in and take a look at you. And then just the appropriate graphics. Don't make it too crazy and clutter it up so that they can't figure out who you are. And the nice thing about this is that you can have these in your purse or in your wallet or in your car, so that when you run into somebody that may be helpful to you in your job search, you can quickly hand them a card, or 2 or 3 if they maybe can hand them out to other people, give them full permission to distribute them, because you oftentimes when you go to the grocery store, you're not going to have your nice printed resume with you, or you're getting your oil change. You don't have your nice resume with you. This is one thing that you can have handy and give to someone right off the bat. And then oftentimes if they're a business person, they may have their own business card with them, and they'll give it to you, and that pretty much gives you full permission to give them a call. So to remind them, hey, I ran into you in the produce department the other day, and we were talking. I wonder if I can come in and talk to you for 10 or 15 minutes, and then now you're in on an informational interview. It's just something. I don't know that we at any of the career force locations can cover the cost of this or have the template, the paper cardstock to do this on, but there are places you can go to that are relatively reasonable. If you don't have a local print shop that can do it, I think Vista Print does them for a relatively low fee, just to be sure that everything on it is accurate. You don't want to have 500 cards printed up and have the wrong phone number on it or the wrong email address. You want to be sure that it is all good information. You could also put on the back maybe your related skills. If you think that would be good. If those skills will fit into multiple opportunities. So if I were going back to being a dental assistant, if I only wrote down dental assisting things and I go and apply for a customer service position or some other position where they don't care that I know how to sterilize scalers and clean the dental room or, help with impressions. It doesn't matter to them. You want to look for transferable skills. Make sure that those skills that you put on there, like this, sharp, quick learner, willing to get involved, proficient with Microsoft Office, and can say words. Anyway. So these are really great transferable skills, and that's what would be perfect on your business card, if you will. So work portfolios, I think we'll talk about this next week. Work portfolios is just maybe a binder that you can bring with you to an interview that shows some of your previous work, maybe a writing sample if you're going to go for an editor or kind of position or working for the newspaper. Bring writing samples maybe. If you're a welder, bring a picture of the beautiful weld or that incredible railing that you did. Whatever it might be that might show them one more thing that will show your credentials or your ability to do the job. You can also put in their certifications, things like that you've achieved. Obviously, you're not going to leave it behind, but you may have extra copies of certain things for them to keep after the interview. But you'll learn more about that next week. So now we're going to talk about references. So you still haven't even gone for an interview yet, so we're still doing the planning, the getting ready for the interview. So you're thinking about who are my references going to be. So you want to obviously find people that will say really good things about you and say it well, so they can really represent you in the best possible light. People who can speak very objectively and maybe answer questions about you and really speak to your skills and abilities. Maybe avoid those references that could be considered controversial. I made a gun reference earlier, and maybe I wouldn't use my friend that's in the National Rifle Association as a reference unless I were going to apply for a job at Gander Outdoor or whatever it's called now, Gander Outdoor, to work in the gun department. They may want to know that I know my way around guns and that I have, maybe some of the skills that they need. So that would be when it might be okay. Otherwise, I would avoid those, just because you don't know who you're going to be sitting across from in that job interview. So make sure that they're folks that maybe you worked with before, supervisors that you've had in the past. Maybe if you've recently been in school, maybe some of those instructors that you've had. And maybe even clients that you worked with or vendors that came in and you worked with closely, and they could say, hey, Rhonda was really great to work with when we brought in all those new computers. She knew exactly where everything went, and she was able to hook them up, and those sorts of things. So didn't work with him as a coworker, but we worked together on a project. So just think about that and have 3 or 4 in your back pocket if you want to switch them up a little bit. Obviously, ask their permission to use their name. I know that I've been a reference for people before, and when they call up and ask about Sue Jones, and I'm not prepared, I don't know what kind of job she's looking for. I don't know who this company is. I don't know, what they're looking for really. So when you're going to get somebody as a reference, send them your resume so that they know your whole history, maybe not just that one job that you worked with them. Send them your entire resume so that they know more about you. Send them the job posting that someone may be calling them about so that they can speak smart about maybe that one area. If you know that they're going to be updating all the computers, you want to be sure that this person can say that story about Rhonda helping with the computers. Whatever it is that's going to help them, obviously they're not going to lie for you on your behalf, but they can maybe tell the story that's going to make you stand out a little bit more. Obviously, get their current information. Where are you going to be for the next month or two? Maybe so it's summertime here, maybe they go to their cabin up in Grand Marais and they're not, you can't be reached until fall when they come back to Duluth or whatever it is. Make sure that you have their current information, phone number, email, whatever it is, so that an employer can for sure get a hold of them. Obviously, thank them. This really is something that they can really do on your behalf, and it can be very helpful. They do have probably other things to do than be your reference all the time. So when you switch them around a little bit when you're job searching, that kind of gives them a break. But always, always, always thank them for their assistance. So let's see, it's about 10:02. We'll still have time for questions at the end. So just kind of in review, recovering from the job loss, giving yourself credit for your feelings, facing the challenge every single day with a positive attitude is huge. Getting your game plan together. What kind of job am I looking for? Where am I going to have my computer and all of my notes? Cell phone charger, check, got it. When you go to an interview, you're going to want to put on interview clothes, even though it's slightly virtual. Setting those great goals that Sam talked about. And you'll get a copy of the paperwork and the examples that we have when we send out the packet tomorrow. You want to figure out where and what to research on that company so that you can talk smart about, hey, I just saw you just purchased the new embroidery shop down the street as well. That's great. I love sewing. I love doing that kind of work. Maybe I could fit in here. And then gathering up those tools, your networking cards, your portfolio, getting your references all pulled together. All of those things will help you to get ready to just really start your job search. You'll be really prepared for that. So sounds like we might have some questions. Oh, we're looking for questions.
Oh, perfect. We actually have a few good questions that came in. One's a statement, so I got to read that because it was great. She stated that she's looking at companies' investors' information after reading that investor information 2-hour job search. She was unpleasantly surprised that a company that she was interested in had one of the highest paid CEOs, whereas she is most comfortable at nonprofit companies. She says researching basic company information on the internet had not shown this important detail. So researching investor information is now something that she does routinely. And I have to say, another thing that I take in consideration when I research, I Google News them. If they're in the Google News, I can read, hey, maybe they're volunteering at Habitat for Humanity, or maybe, hey, this is the financial background that they had. So just go ahead and research the company's name in news and see what pops up. You could be pleasantly surprised or unpleasantly surprised. So that's one. We also had another question come in. Besides LinkedIn, regarding networking, besides LinkedIn groups are available, what type of networking groups are available that you know of, Rhonda, that you would like to encourage people to look into?
Around here, I don't know that we have a lot going on, not like we used to. We used to have Job Club every single week. about 2 hours every week. We don't do that any longer, but I think that on the events page on careerforceMN.com, there are some listed. I wish I had a better answer than that. Sam, I don't know if you have more information for your area or what they might be doing in the Twin Cities. But it's a whole different ballgame in the cities, I think.
Yes,
they have more opportunities.
They do beat to a different drum. One thing that you can do is go to like the Chamber of Commerce for your city and say, hey, what are some networking groups, or attend one of those business functions and use it as an opportunity. Bring your networking card with you to that opportunity, and you can share it and talk to people. They also have SHRMs, and I saw that there was an HR individual on here where you could network with those individuals that are part of that group and just say, hey, I'm looking for employment or economic development. Talk to your local career force. They're going to know about their happenings. And I love that Rhonda said the career force page, they have events, and that's another great place to network. So that's another one. Another question came in: is Twitter worthwhile to learn about industry movers and shakers? What's your input on that?
Zero input on that. I'm one of those mature workers, and I just don't use the Twitter. Sorry.
Hey, I would consider myself as not a Gen Z, not a Gen X, but a millennial. And I can see the great thing about like following Twitter, like Elon Musk, and seeing what he talks about, because whatever he talks about, stocks shoot up in that. So if you're thinking about following people, that's one thing. But following LinkedIn companies or Facebook companies and commenting on those, or even on Twitter, it's good because you're showing that you're a person and not just a person's name on a resume. So that's another good one. And I guess another one that I saw come in is, how many references should you have?
You know, it depends on how many folks he worked for. I had a high school student right out of high school come in. He didn't really have any, so he had to use maybe who we did babysitting for, which you may not think is a reference, but that's a job. He got paid to do that, and had to be responsible for children, things like that. Now, if you're older, you can have a variety so that you're not using the same person over and over again, but you want to be sure that you're using people that can talk about that particular job best for you. So somebody that's in the industry, somebody that maybe knows somebody that works there, some connection to that employer, to that job you're applying for would be ideal. Otherwise, just have 5 or 6 maybe, and rearrange them. Don't use them every single time.
Yes. Another thing that came in the chat was a response to what I wrote. What are QR codes? And if you look at some of the pop bottles that you see, you'll see like a code right here. It's usually in a square, and that will link you to a certain website of your choice. If you wanted to put that on your networking card, that is appropriate. You could scan it with a phone, and what I like to do is, when I have it on my business card, they can scan that and it goes to my LinkedIn account. One thing, as a job seeker, I get a notification if someone looked at my account. So if they hit on that hyperlink, I get notified that they looked at my account. It's telling me that my networking card is working. Now, free websites like Wix, Wix.com, those are free. You can actually go on there and they have portfolio, one strictly for portfolio. So if you don't want to get on that social media networking trend, jump into Wix, create your own website, and make sure you don't have pictures of your cats or anything like that. Have it specifically professional. So Wix.com is another way to really advance your job searching techniques if you want to try it. And you don't have to sign up for it. I think you do have to sign your name, email, but you don't get any notifications. I created one in 2012, and it's still around. I don't have to pay for it, so it's a nice free one. But I do encourage, if you do have LinkedIn, utilize your LinkedIn account, because I love getting notifications that people are checking out my name on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like there's some great comments going back and forth inside the chat. I applied for a job in the office. They're having walk-in interviews. Is this for a factory or only as it is not stated? So go into the factory. It says go to the walk-in interview for either job, office or factory. I'm not. Maybe I missed something on this. I don't know if you've seen anything on that. But yeah, if do your research, as Rhonda said, research. If there are walk-in interviews, do research before you go in there. Call the company, ask for an informational interview, so on and so forth. So Rhonda, I think we're at time. If there are any other questions, please throw them in the chat. Maybe we will have time. But I'm going to let Rhonda finish up because I do talk too much.
which makes you a good moderator, co-worker. I appreciate that. So, yeah, any questions that you have, we'll keep the chat open for a little while. Again, encourage you to connect with your local career force, careerforcemn.com/locations, and you can connect with some of those different programs that we have to offer. Don't be afraid to reach out. I think all of this is about walking through the right threshold at the right time to make the right connection. And so we appreciate you joining us. We will email you later on today or tomorrow, and will you include instructions on the QR code to your LinkedIn? Sam, that's for you.
Yes, I can do that.
What about one-pagers with photos and strengths? What are those used for? Is that to bring to an interview, Tamara? We certainly don't encourage you to put your photo on your resume. On cover letters, if they ask for one, you definitely have to fill it out. There are great examples on careerforcemn.com. Put in the search bar cover letter or resume, and you can get good examples of resumes or cover letters. I'm sorry. There is a workshop probably coming up next week. Like the interview class is tomorrow. Resumes will be the next week. So you might want to check that out and hop on that workshop. Oh, good. We're going to standalone cover letter workshop. There you go. Keep an eye out for that. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.